Greetings in Yeshua's name. Welcome to the first edition of Room of Light. My name is Effiong Ephraim and I'm your host. Today's edition, we would be looking at the life and times of Evangelist Ephraim Ephraim, our guest for today's edition. And he would be taking us on a journey of his life, everything, the challenges, his growing up, and everything. I'm sure you're interested and you would want to learn a thing or two. So please sit back, get your notepad, and be ready to learn. All right, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you on our first edition of Room of Light.
It's an honor to be here today.
All right, I must say you are looking good.
Thank you very much.
All right, so today you'll be telling us about your life experiences so far from childhood. So I think we will just go to the very beginning. So tell us about your early life, your childhood. How was growing up for you?
Well, early life. I'm from Cross River State, Calabar, precisely from Ikoton. I happened to grow up in a family Christian priesthood, meaning is that I happen to be a third generation Christian in my lineage. My great grandfather was a preacher, my grandfather was a preacher, my father and his brothers got involved as well in ministry. So I'm someone that already grew up with a good Christian or a good religious background.
Yeah.
But for this time, history has it that before I was born, there was a pregnancy that my mom had. And 7 months to that pregnancy, she had a miscarriage.
Wow.
A very terrible one. She went into the bathroom to take her bath, and in the bathroom, she had a miscarriage. A very terrible experience. And from what they told her, that it was a male child.
Wow.
Already. So while in church, the late pastor Usanga gave her a word and said that the devil took the child away, but God is going to bring back the child. And this happened in the month of December. The miscarriage happened in the month of December, and in the month of February, she got pregnant again. This time around, the devil also tried to fight, but he fought and lost in vain. So on 6th November, my dad went for a crusade in somewhere around Calabar South. He went for a crusade. You know, about 30 years plus ago, Calabar South wasn't as lively as it is today. It was almost a forest. So he went for the forestation crusade in a thick location in Calabar South. He ministered powerfully in that crusade. My dad was an evangelist.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, he was an evangelist. So he ministered powerfully in that crusade with accurate words of knowledge. Then, as they got back to the church that evening to give glory to God, to praise God for a wonderful crusade, for souls being won and souls being liberated, there and then, pregnancy labor came on my mom in the church on a Sunday evening.
Beautiful. Double blessing.
Yeah, that's how it is. So while the labor came on her, they tried to call some midwives. You know, those days in churches had midwives.
Yeah, midwives.
So ran to go and call the midwives to come. Before the midwives could arrive in the church, I was already out.
Miraculous.
And then the pastor who was there at that very incident, he's today a retired bishop. He's still alive. The man was the first man to see me when I was born. As soon as I came out, the women, you know, the usual thing, trying to mop the blood and everything.
Yes,
so he carried me to Thanksgiving and appreciation from where I was born and climbed the pulpit. That was how I was born. I was born in church. Then growing up, between the 2nd month of my birth to the 3rd month of my birth, I was poisoned. The devil lost the battle before, but still came again for me
to try
again. So I was poisoned to the point that I was declared dead by the doctor. My mom insisted that she can't lose the child again. She has lost already one in the womb. I'm told that the church mobilized 24-hour prayer for me. I was in the hospital for 6 months. Yes. So within these 6 months of me being in the hospital, prayer was going on round the clock for me. One pastor told me that in one of those occasions, my dad came to the hospital and carried me from the hospital and brought me to church and put me in the church covenant box and told God, you gave me this child. Don't allow the devil to take him. I was in what we today call that box. I was put in that box while prayer was going on. And then they took me back again to the hospital. Now, the story in the hospital has it that as a young child, my veins were not visible for doctors to carry out injection and also for them to plug the cannula. The only way the doctors could give me injection was through my head. That's why I have this mark on my head.
You know, I was going to ask about that mark, but since we are there already.
Yes. So that's how I got this mark on my head. This mark was very big when I was in secondary school. It was a very big mark. From the story again, I was told that we were in a hospital called Mambo Clinic. My God Clinic is still existing in Calabar today. It's at Atamuni Street, just after Menabeni. So my mom told me that the doctors did everything they knew how to do, but the child wouldn't just respond. The child wouldn't just respond. One evening, my mom told me that a medical doctor came into the hospital and she hasn't seen that doctor before.
In the
hospital. And no nurse was able to detect who the doctor was after the man left.
No identity.
Nobody could trace the man. So the man came into the hospital. While he came into the hospital, he came straight to the bed where I was and gave me an injection. He told my mom that by 3 o'clock in the morning, I will wake up. They should look for food and keep for me.
The divine physician.
I'm telling you. So my mom now told her, thank you very much. And the man left. As I speak to you, that man is not traceable. Wow. There is no record of that man in the hospital. In fact, I'm told that they even went to check. When I woke up in the morning, I was very hungry, looking for food. So in the morning when others came, they were so happy. Oh, the boy is good. The boy is good. My mom now said that she wants to see that doctor that came to give me injection in the night. So they were like, which doctor? Nothing said no doctor came. He said, no. A doctor came and gave me injection. And they said there was no doctor on duty in the night. So everybody became so confused. But my dad was designing. My dad designed that this must truly be the hand of God
supernatural
upon this child. I grew up in the family, and we were staying at number 41 Men Avenue, just beside my grandfather's church, the Pentecostal Assembly of the World. I grew up in that compound, and people began calling me small pastor from childhood. They started calling me small pastor because it is said that those days I will always want to wear suit and carry the Bible to church. When I go to church, I always want to be in the front seat. When they are putting offering, children are passing around to put offering. I always be the one to lead the children to go and put offering. So they nicknamed me small pastor. Then I grew up, I was always used to children fasting, always wanting to go for children fasting. But anyway, as you proceed, I'll tell you something. But there was another side to my growth, which happened to be that the mark on my head gave me a lot of issues. Very terrible one. You don't want to hear about it. When I go to school, I was highly stigmatized.
Wow.
Because the mark on my head was an eyesore. It was so big and disgusting. So because of the mark on my head, I didn't have friends. Nobody wanted to be around me. I also had a sense of inferiority complex. When something happens in school and they want to beat me, the student or the teacher will beat me on my head because he or she knows it was always spending. So it's been a wonderful childhood experience.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Okay, Evangelist. Let's ask you your teenage life. Tell us about your teenage life and experiences. And also tell us how you will be.
Teenage life, I grew up in a setting of four friends. There will be four friends, four bad friends. Nobody to correct each other. Very terrible experience. We got involved in all the things that you can think of. Teenagers were involved those days. We got involved in it. And then one of the most striking thing about my teenage life is my experience in secondary school. I used to be in a school where I know I am intelligent, but for whatever reason, I was failing. In first term, I failed in second term, and I failed in third term. So my dad removed me from that school and sent me to another school. This time around, it was a boarding school. My dad took me to Nigerian Police Force Secondary School in Akpabio, believing that since it's hard for me to be studious here, when I get there, I'll be studious. Well, when I got there, it got worse because I was really stigmatized. The senior students were beating me up and down. My mates were not friendly around me. Remember, the mark on my head was really stigmatizing. So it was also like a trauma for me. I remember one of those days where students went to steal in the tuck shop in the school, and when the policemen came to the hostel, I wasn't among those that went to steal. But when policemen came to the hostel, I was arrested as one of those that went to steal. They came to my corner, searched my box, searched everything. They couldn't find anything to incriminate me, but I was taken along and we were locked up in the cell. It was that terrible. I suffered so much stigmatization. So at the end of my 1 year in that school, my dad removed me from that school and took me to Lightway Secondary School, owned by the late Reverend Dr. I.B. Semen. And in that school, there was one particular morning, Reverend Semen came to pray for all of us in that school. And he was laying hands on all of us in that school. His sermon came to me, unlike every other child. He spent a lot of time praying with me and laid hands on me, praying and rebuking, praying and rebuking, praying and rebuking. From that experience, it was as if my lost memory was restored. I was able to sit down for hours and learn, able to write exams and pass freely. This is something I didn't experience in two other secondary schools. So that school really had a depth of impact in my academic life. In fact, I wrote my WAEC in that school and I passed in one sitting. I had the best result. I had the best result in CRK and in government in that school. Then how I became born again was in the days where Pastor Fort was my pastor. Pastor Fort was really a great impact in our life. I got baptized under the tutelage of Pastor Fortudo in the year 2007. That was when I got baptized under the ministry of Pastor Fortudo. That was in June 2007. So that's been my experience between teenagehood and being born again.
Your relationship. Because I'm sure people want to know, are you single? Are you in a relationship? Or you are like Apostle Paul? Not to be married.
Oh, no, 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 no. No, me, I must marry you. And in fact, I am marrying. Yes, I'm marrying. With regards to that, the Lord spoke to me in the month of March. when I was in Kaduna about someone, and as the Lord will have it, I've been able to identify the person, and currently we are just talking. Yes, I don't know what will happen then, but currently we are just talking, and we are hopeful that by the grace of God, yes, yes, of course, please get it. Yes.
This will lead us to the next question. I think from your story so far, you've been mentioning about your parents a lot. So I'd like to ask, how do your parents, influence